What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving you guys some updates to the crypto wars. Now, if you've been following the crypto wars, you know it really took off when PGP was introduced, and you likely use OpenPGP to this day. Now, this headline is something meant to get your attention. They are fighting crime blindfolded. Sorry. That's what they want people to think. Let me translate that for you. Well, what they're saying is, if they're not able to read everyone's messages at will, meaning if you're not under some kind of mass surveillance total police state where none of your messages can be assured to be secure, well then they can't do police work in the way they want, meaning it's just really a way of saying you need to submit all of your messages at will if they want to see them, and otherwise you are blindfolding the police. It's absolutely ridiculous, and Europe is coming after encryption, but that's not the only people doing it. There's many parties today that are going after our privacy, and Europe is just one part of that. Now, we've seen all of the different countries that have talked about the efforts to introduce backdoors to encryption, things like a secret party involved in your end-to-end encrypted chats. Now, that is something they wanted to do over in France, and thankfully the French National Assembly actually did the right thing here. They rejected a dangerous proposal. Now, one of these proposals involved having a ghost participant model, meaning a ghost participant would be added into your end-to-end encrypted chats, meaning there would be a hidden party that was able to observe all of your end-to-end encrypted chats if this would have passed. Now, thankfully, they had the common sense to knock this down. We can't fall for these kinds of efforts, these kinds of propaganda efforts that are meant to make you think that kids and other people won't be safe without backdoors and encryption. It's absolutely ridiculous. And to actually try to add a ghost participant into every encrypted chat potentially, not going for it. So thankfully, the French National Assembly did reject this. And in fact, also, we heard from Pavel Durov on this. Now, Pavel Durov has stated that they are willing to completely exit the market rather than undermine encryption with such backdoors. So actually, Pavel Durov had a channel that they actually left this message. So Pavel left this message that they nearly banned encryption. They wanted to have basically that ghost access I mentioned. And thankfully, the National Assembly was wise enough to reject the law that would have stripped their citizens the right to privacy. It is a backdoor. And to claim that it is not going to affect people that aren't doing anything wrong is completely illegitimate. Now, also, we've even seen efforts here in Florida in the US. So Florida has an anti-encryption bill and this came out April 22nd on the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Now, this anti-encryption bill wants to also, once again, protect the kids. Now, as I mentioned in many videos, we need to also take the approach of going after unwinnable wars and stopping these kinds of narratives, because these narratives are not actually reality. They are a lot of hypotheticals, a lot of we could save someone, we could prevent this, we could save the world if we just allowed backdoors in our encryption. I'm not falling for that, and I hope you won't either. So they wanted to, in Florida, force social media platforms to decrypt teens' private messages, which of course is breaking end-to-end encryption. They also wanted to disappear messages. And I shouldn't be talking in past tense because this is not gone yet. And this is in Florida. And as we know, Florida, they have their politics. And of course, they're going to use the narrative of protecting the kids, just like the terrorist thing. That whole narrative was a huge unwinnable war that would allow for the unlimited propaganda against technologies that keep us secure and offer the option of privacy. So they also wanted to allow unrestricted parental access to private messages, which is basically similar to, or at least similar sounding to, France's ghost measure, where they wanted to put a hidden party in the chat. So it probably would allow for parents to access those end-to-end encrypted messages. They might have taken another route, but that's what it's sounding like. Now, they also wanted to remove encryption for all minors. Now, as we know, there's no safe backdoor. This is something, it's well established. And if you don't believe it, well, take a look at Salt Typhoon. Well, Salt Typhoon was actually something that allowed law enforcement and intelligence agencies to access ISP user data. And they were able to do this using a system they built that actually was taken advantage of, believed allegedly, by China. And in fact, there was a meeting recently, and I read this on Bruce Schneier's blog just the other day, that they actually sort of admitted some efforts involving the infrastructure. So it's possible that it was related to Salt Typhoon, which is something that came to us through, thankfully, Kalia, that allowed the assistance of law enforcement to break into communications or otherwise wiretap at will, with a warrant, hopefully, at least. And so, as we know, these kinds of backdoors don't work, and there is no such thing as a good backdoor. There's no such thing as a backdoor that can't be broken by others. And even after the Salt Typhoon hack, we saw that even the FBI was recommending that people used encryption more, because even the stuff that they had hoped to glean from potential terrorists or potential criminals, it ended up being used against everyone in the end. And that is how we know that this kind of thing just won't work. It's been proven time and time again that if there's a door, someone else is going to access it other than the intended person that it's there for. Now, they also want to use age verification, and that's another effort to undermine encryption. And you can take that to go right along with the Florida's law to allow for all of this infringement upon underage people's right to privacy, their right to secure encryption. And they want to do this through the measure of digital identities, which also threatens your anonymity or your privacy in general. Of course, if you mandate identification, now they can jump through all kinds of hoops to say it's securely done. There's no knowledge of it. It's not like something that is going to be in the clear. Now, there's so many different hoops they could jump through to try and accomplish this, but in the end, it's going to threaten your online privacy. So regardless of what they say, we need to really just pay more attention to what they are doing. And what they are doing is installing backdoors in our infrastructure. What they are doing is undermining our encryption. What they are doing is asking to put ghost chats inside our encrypted chats. So that's all I need to know from it. And to know that even in the past, when this was done for law enforcement and intelligence agencies, it was broken into by the very people that they claim as their number one adversaries. So once again, it is proven that we just can't trust backdoors, and there should never be backdoors in encryption. If you want to follow me, you can follow over at falstodon.org/@RTP. And I'll be back later with more updates, tutorials on how to protect your security and privacy.